I talk about the warrior, the one that wants to have war, the one that wants to win an argument, the one that wants to dominate, the one that wants to win, actually, instead of thinking what's best for everyone here. So I'm talking about the negative side of these things. That is what ego does. And why does ego do this? I've asked this question so many times because I do have a very noisy ego. Like it goes on and on and on. And I'm like, I'm not hearing this right now. This is not what I need to hear. And I need to talk myself out of listening to the ego because it's an expert on convincing you why you might be the victim here. Why these people are attacking you, why this is danger, because that is the ego's job. The ego is supposed to separate you from all that is. The ego contains your identity and it holds your identity.
What if the key to your freedom was not doing more, but remembering who you already are? This episode is your invitation to step beyond the stories your ego tells and reconnect with the deeper truth of your being. If you have ever felt stuck in cycles of self-doubt, emotional reactivity, or perfectionism, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not broken. What you are about to hear is not just a conversation, it is a soul mirror, a portal, a gentle wake-up call from the universe to come home to yourself. So take a breath, soften the edges, and lean into the stillness that has always been there waiting. So let this be the moment you begin again from essence, not ego. Enjoy. So hello, beautiful souls. Here we are again. Another amazing guest for you this week. We've got the beautiful Gordana Biernat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Catherine. I'm so thrilled to be here. I love your show. I really do.
And I love Gordana. For those that don't know, we've had Gordana. We were trying to work out, it would have been about 8 years ago on the show. And so, yeah, it was a very long time ago. So we've got her back, which we're really excited. And so, Gordana, for those that actually don't know you, what inspired you to do what you do today?
What inspired me to do what I do today? You know what? I've always known that if I don't know who I am actually unconscious. And I can't go through life unconscious. I have to be conscious, present, and fully embrace life. And unless I know who I truly am, I cannot do that. So there are a few things in my life that really, truly put me on this path, even though I didn't know it when I was, in my 20s. I thought that I would be something else, but life had it differently for me. But one of the things that really, truly put me on this path is the birth of my child, of my son, 27 years ago. I gave birth to him, and when I looked him in the eyes, I saw his soul. And I thought, he is perfect. And I know that all mothers think that their child is perfect. And that is true because they are perfect when they enter this world. He was authentic, perfect, and beautiful. And I'm thinking, I cannot learn him. I cannot teach him anything. What I need to do is to be authentic so that he can stay authentic. And this is where I started asking myself, well, who is the authentic me? Who is this observer? What is it that this observer wants to explore in this reality? And that put me on this path. It took a long time because I gave birth to him, so I had to be his mom for a while. But there was this, thinking process that was in the back of my head all the time. And then when he was old enough, I started to explore this on a deeper level. And honestly speaking, I do not know how to do anything else. I love what I do, and exploring reality the way I'm doing it right now is exactly what I came here to do. I feel that this is the right thing to do. So, as I said, unless I know who I am not conscious in this reality. And I try to help people realize how much it changes when you become conscious of who you are and what your purpose is here.
That's what we've come here to do, right, Gordana, is to remember who we are. And yet it's so It sounds so simple to be conscious and be in the present and in our moment, to stand in our truth, our love and light, and yet so complex,
Yes,
So what's your
it
trick? I mean, how do
is.
you, I mean, I also, I practice, I say practice because I get caught up in the day to day kind of life, work and so forth. And so there are times where I get triggered and I will ask myself, where am I? Am I present or am I external? Am I internal? And so I do, but it does take a lot of work to do that. So what's your trick?
Well, realizing that it takes as much effort as it takes for Superman to stop a train. That's how much effort it takes to stop the story and realize that you are not the story, you're the observer of it, and you have all the power to form the story the way you want to form it. In the midst of an argument, it's really hard. It takes a lot of practice. And the practice, I know that people are not going to like what I'm saying here. The practice is not sitting in meditation for 30 minutes every morning. It helps you, but it's not the practice that I'm talking about. I'm talking about presence in the now moment when it happens, to realize when your soul has squeezed itself into ego, because it feels very, very different from being open and, curious about the person in front of you. When it's squeezed into ego, it feels like, "Ah, I'm under attack." To wake up in that moment and say, I am never under attack. It's only what I allow that can be attacking me. I am never under attack. And that's how you pull back. So for me, it would be, I have to be, this is a radical openness. That is one of the tools that I use, and I call it radical openness. I stop and I say, I am willing to see this differently. If it hurts, if it feels like I've shrunk into my ego, I don't want to be there. So I will close my eyes and I will say, I am willing to see this differently. And then I ask follow-up questions. I would say, so what am I contributing to this argument? Is it clarity or is it confusion? Is it ego or is it soul? Is it fear or is it calmness? What am I contributing with? And if the answer is fear, confusion, and um, um, oh my God, I lost it. If it is something of a negative character, you know that the ego is activated and you are not yourself. This is why you do not remember very often what happened in the conversation, why and how you got to the place where you got, because two egos are fighting. So if you can know that I am in ego mode now, you can pull back and say, no, I don't want to have this conversation right now. Before the victim in you takes over, before the warrior in you takes over, just pull back and say, no, I'll have to come back to this conversation in a while. And then again, ask yourself, I am willing to see this differently. What am I adding to the situation? Why am I adding this? Why am I not wanting clarity in this situation without outsourcing it to the other? And I'm not saying it's easy, but it gets easier. If you promise yourself to be radically honest with yourself and that you are on a self-discovery path, then this is the way to do it. It won't help to sit and meditate for 30 minutes, because when you walk outside, someone triggers you and you're back in ego again. So it does help because you know how it feels to be in soul space when you meditate, but it won't solve your problem in the now moment. You have to be awake enough to do so. So looking at the signals, what's the signal here? Because every time you feel fear or retraction, something makes you feel like your body gets tense, that is a signal that you have gone out of soul space into ego mode. So you know that you're in ego mode. And ego can never be the captain. You have to be the captain. So that's a signal that you need to wake up. You need to go back in your soul. And this is why our children are our best teachers. Because one thing, we love them unconditionally. So we don't want to hurt them. And yet, when we find ourselves in conversations with our children, they trigger us For me, I know 100% that I am not awake, that my soul is sleeping when I start thinking that my son wants to dominate, that my son wants to win an argument over me, that there is a bad negative energy coming from him. I know that it is not coming from him, it is coming from here, and it's a trigger from my past. Something that maybe my father did when I was a child, when he wanted to dominate me, and I can sense that it's on me. It is my monkeys and my circus, not his monkeys and his circus. So that's when I need to pull back and say, honey, I'll come back later. He's very smart. He would say, Mom, you're behaving like a 6-year-old right now. You need to detach and come back later. And I'll come back later and I'll say, you're absolutely right. Let's restart. And then love can enter the conversation. It's much harder if you have to do these things with a coworker because you don't want to do them with. But practicing it with your loved ones, forgiving yourself for going into ego mode, forgiving yourself for seeing something that isn't true, seeing something that your ego wants you to see in a loved one, and pulling it back and putting it back where it belongs. It does not belong there. It belongs here, and you can dissolve it because it's yours. Does it make sense to you what I'm saying
Oh,
here?
100%. Well, first of all, I was smiling when you were saying I'm willing to see this differently, because just in October, there was a group of us overseas together, and we all went to this trip with expectations. And I could see what it was doing to the dynamics of the group. And so I decided to see this differently. And so in doing so, I let go of my expectations. And in doing so,
Yes.
I could see the energy change, because everyone was projecting their expectation into the room, onto the table, and everyone, had their own ideas. And so it was so much easier just to let go. And because, but mind you, I could see ego doesn't sit aside really easy. Ego will blame, will judge, will guilt. So, like, it's not going to be like, I could see how ego really will talk you out of why you should think this way, why you should say that. Like, it's a constant battle with ego. So I do
Yes.
absolutely understand and resonate with everything you're saying, because the ego is always going to talk you out of a situation. The trick is, what you're saying is for us to be the observer and be bigger than that, bigger than the ego, and actually know that that's not who we are, because that's a false identity. It's not really who we are. And yet it does pop its head in quite often. But so, and then you were saying before the warrior kicks in, before the victim kicks in. So you're talking about these archetypes. So are you saying the ego is the main driver of the bus? And then if we allow the ego to drive the bus, that we might then have the victim that jumps in the passenger seat, or the warrior, the archetype. Is that
Well,
what you're talking about?
no, not the warrior archetype. That's a beautiful archetype to jump into when you need to, take actions. That's not what I'm talking about. I talk about the warrior, the one that wants to have war, the one that wants to win an argument, the one that wants to dominate, the one that wants to win, actually, instead of thinking what's best for everyone here. So I'm talking about the negative side of these things. That is what ego does. And why does ego do this? I've asked this question so many times because I do have a very noisy ego. Like, it goes on and on and on. And I'm like, I'm not hearing this right now. This is not what I need to hear. And I need to talk myself out of listening to the ego, because it's an expert on convincing you why you might be the victim here, why these people are attacking you, why this is danger, because that is the ego's job. The ego is supposed to separate you from all that is. The ego contains your identity, and it holds your identity. So it holds your dreams and aspirations. Without ego, you cannot have financial success here. You cannot have a successful life because your dreams are connected to ego. And in Buddhism, they say, well, when there is no desire, you will not have any suffering. Yeah, but that's not how it works on earth. It might work in heaven, but it's not working on earth because we have a polarity here and there is a negative energy that is there. And your ego is connected to that negative energy because it helps you survive here. So it does its job brilliantly. It is when you fall asleep and let the ego do everything, when you are not present, that's when ego thinks, ah, I'm all that is. I don't need this thing over there. I can do all of it myself. And that's when you become small. That is when suffering actually set kicks in, because your soul, this is like wearing two small shoes and walking, up to Mount Everest. It hurts. So taming your ego, not shutting it down, taming it, speaking to it in a way where you can handle it and say, wait, it's like having a puppy, telling the puppy to calm down because you are present. There is no danger here. Why ego feels its danger when you start growing in your consciousness is because its job is to hold your identity. If you're changing, that means that the identity that the ego is holding is dissolving, and that feels like death to ego. So it becomes noisy. It starts screaming like a child. It says, no, don't go there. And when you're not listening, it tries to convince you, this is danger, don't go there. So you have to be present and see the ego for what it is. It's a tool for your soul to explore reality here. And when you know that, you can be calm when ego becomes distressed because you know that you're evolving and ego doesn't like that. But it's okay because you are in control of that growing, so to speak. So it's like having a relationship to your ego. There's another tool that I use, which I call rising into grace. When I do things like my human self does stupid things here, we all do them. I would, before I was like 40, I would scold myself. I had this voice that would say, why did I do this? I know it's stupid. Why did I do it? What's wrong with me? Why am I doing these things? Like guilt tripping myself. So I started doing it in a different way. Instead of saying, why am I doing this? I would lean in and then I would put on a curiosity filter and I would say, I wonder why Gordana did this. And the minute I use my name, when I say, I wonder why Gordana did this, I wonder why she behaved like that, with a curiosity, kindness, and real curiosity. I want to know, I want to get to know Gordana, the human, my human. That means that I have risen from my human state into my higher self, like my higher consciousness, looking at me. And the funny thing is that I can see Gordana running in a maze. She doesn't know that she's in a maze. I know because I can see what she's doing. And I can say, well, of course she's stressed out. She's run this thing 3 times back and forth, back and forth. Who wouldn't be stressed out? She needs to relax. She needs to look at it from another perspective. And the minute I start thinking that, Gordana understands. And she goes, that's true. I should have done it this way instead. I'll do that the next time. So it becomes a conversation between my human, Gordana, and my higher self, also Gordana, but only on a much, much higher level and much more loving and patient level than the human Gordana is. So it's almost like separating soul from ego, separating your higher self from your human self by asking questions. And this question has to be asked with true curiosity. Like if you would see a friend do something and you would say, you know what, if you would do it this way, it will be less painful for you. And your friend will say, yes, I didn't think of that. That is what my human Gordana says to me when I talk to her that way. So it's a way for me to tap into higher thinking with just one question. And it might sound like a, silly little thing to do, but it does something to your brain. It says, like, there is this human, but there's also something higher than that. And it creates this dialogue, which is very, very beneficial because you get to know yourself. And since I am on a path of self-discovery, Well, that's exactly my intention. I want to know, why is Gordana behaving this way? Maybe I can help her. Because who else can help her if I can't? I know her. I know exactly what she's doing. I know everything. I know all the flaws, and I still like her.
I love
So
that.
it's, yeah, it's an easy little thing to do. Pop out and just look at it. And I call it rising into grace because it is grace to look at it from that perspective down.
I love that. So I've got well, we've had one for years. It's a positive psychology coaching academy, and we do some
Mhm.
ego work. I always say that you can't kill your ego, you can't strangle it, you can't drown it, but you've got to learn to work with it, integrate it. And what you're talking
Mhm.
about is actual called. There is a concept called perceptual position, where
Mhm.
it's I, you, and the observer. So what you're talking
Mhm.
about is I, which is the higher self, being able to look at
Yes.
Gordana, the you self, which is in the physical
Mhm.
self. So I love that rising to grace, because
Mhm.
that is a technique in itself in coaching, but it's what it does. It's, I always say, if you can name it, you can tame it. And when we, for example, we work with psychological archetypes. When you can put them to the side, you can actually
Mm.
have a dialogue, like you're saying. Like,
Yes.
what is
Mhm.
your purpose here? What are you protecting me from?
Mhm.
And so what you're
Mhm.
doing is amazing. Intuitively, you're doing that naturally. That's amazing.
Mm. Yes, it's almost like I think that the lack of a mother figure when I was a child created this mother in me. So I'm, in a way, I am mothering myself. If I see my human self as a child and my higher self as the mother, then I can be the mother that I needed as a child. And this is also intuitive. I did not plan it this way. It's like when you are in distress, you're looking for things that can ease your pain, that can bring some ease to your life. And I found that this is something that can bring ease to my life when I look at myself from that perspective with a forgiving, loving eye. For many, many years, when people in the new age community, they say, well, you have to love yourself. And I could not grasp, what is that? How do you love yourself? What does that even mean to love yourself? It's the word love that complicates things for me because it's such a complex word. Loving myself today would be when I am forgiving myself, when I am kind to myself, even when I use my ego as a filter and I look at things through that filter and I know that it isn't true, but still I can't stop myself from doing this. And then afterward, I will look back at it and I won't scold myself. I would say, I understand all of it and it's human and it's okay. That to me is to show myself self-love. So it's easier for me to understand how to take care of me if I become as a mother to myself instead of, loving myself as myself. It's really a hard concept to grasp. Have
Oh,
you have you been
absolutely.
able to? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm smiling. You and I are so similar. It's not fun. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's not a coincidence. I
Yeah.
also struggled for years, and the only way that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's because I've always been really hard on myself for a very long time. So
Mm-hmm.
really strong
Mm-hmm.
inner critic, and so the only way that I was able to love myself, Gordana, was to do the inner child. And years ago, I did inner child work, and that separation itself, like I've got a photo of me when I was a little girl. And so when I would be, berating myself or being hard on myself, I look at that photo and say, would you speak that way to that little girl? And the answer would always be no, no.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is when I started to learn how to love myself, how to forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it took something out, which was the
Mm-hmm.
smaller me, the inner child, because I relate to what you were saying, like being the mother or the father, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter, a parent
Yes.
or a guardian of some
Mm-hmm.
kind, that helped me be that for
Mm.
me. But that's the only way that I've
Yes.
got to that point. I couldn't, because I did that. Like, what does that mean, loving myself? Well, I'm going to love myself. Because that's not natural for me to do that for me.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of people do have a problem with that. A lot of people have a problem with that. And then they stop, they don't know how to do it, so they just stay in the pain. But if you start thinking about it from a different perspective, and for me, it's really important to understand there are certain principles that I have realized on this self-illumination path. And it is that the only thing that is really real is the stillness within me, the observer, the one that is looking, tasting, seeing, the one that is listening, the stillness. And then there is this movement which passes. Everything that is in this energy moving will pass. So my body, my home, my husband, my son, in those forms will pass because they're a part of this movement here. But the connection, the loving connection, soul to soul between my son and me, between my husband and me, is real because it is not a part of the movement. It is not something that is created by me here. They have their own creation. They have their own soul entrance here. And that soul connection is the real thing. I was watching the other day a video on YouTube, and I can't for my life remember the name of the person that told this story. I wish I could, but maybe we can find it and put it out there later. It was a lecture where the man lecturing was talking about the important stuff in life, the real stuff in life. And so he had a canister or a jar, and he put golf balls in the jar. And then he asked the audience, he said, "Is it full?" And everybody was, "Yes, yes, 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 it's full." And then he put some gravel in it and he said, "Is it full now?" "Yes, it's full now." "No, it wasn't." So he put some sand in it too. And then he said, "Now it's full." And everybody said, "Yes, now it's full." And so he said, if you focus on the gravel and the sand, you cannot put the golf balls in here. And the golf balls are the things that are important in your life. So if you focus on the not important things, like things, car, house, if that is more important than the connections that you have to your loved ones, you will not have a beautiful life because you will miss out on the important things. So knowing that the real thing, the only thing that is real in this reality is the soul to soul connection you have with your loved ones, your friends, the soul to soul experience of each other. That is real. Everything else, and I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, it does exist, but it's the game. It is the movement. It is the energy here. It is the forms that we are playing with. And you are the creator of that form. So when you realize who you are, you also understand how much you can affect that, how much you can mold that form. It might not look exactly the way you want it, but you do have a lot of power to mold it by taking care of your own frequency and by being aware of the observer in you and by being aware that when you observe, you choose. There is a choice that is made in every now moment, regardless of if you're looking at the past, dreaming of the future, being present in the now, there's always a choice being made. And to me, the initial question, when you ask what triggered me into doing this, it's the choice. When you do not see the choice, that's 100% certain that you're in ego mode and you are sleepwalking through life. You
Yes.
miss the target. I read somewhere about what sin is because I'm not religious in that sense. I'm very spiritual, but I can't confess myself to one religion. And sin has always been something that I really didn't know what to do with. But then I read a sentence and it said, sin actually means to miss the target or to miss the marker. And I'm thinking, what is the marker? Well, the marker is to fulfill your purpose here. And that is the sin. If you miss that, you are actually sleepwalking, living in some kind of sin here. It's so interesting to look at it. It's just how we interpret those things here. Or, for instance, offerings, or what is it called? Offerings? Offering something to the gods. What is it that you have to sacrifice? It's called
Sacrifice.
sacrifice. Yes, that's another word that I'm like, ooh, this is not okay. This isn't God wanting a sacrifice. But then I'm thinking it's in every religion. So there has to be something to this. What is it? If it is a benevolent God, what would he or she or it want us to sacrifice? And I know what it is. You have to sacrifice your ego in some relationships, in some encounters. That's the sacrifice you need to do because your soul does not feel pain. It is the ego that feels pain. And this is why it feels painful to sacrifice, not becoming a victim when you feel that someone hurt you. So you need to sacrifice your ego sometimes in order to grow in your consciousness. That's the sacrifice, not some chicken or, bloody thing put on an altar. That's not a sacrifice. The real sacrifice is to sacrifice the parts of your ego that contain the negative aspect of who you are, not the positive aspect, because the dreams and the stuff that we talked about, ego holds that too. So it's your job to separate those two and say, okay, this I do not like. This is what I'm sacrificing.
I
And I
love the
keep
way that you
introducing
describe
this.
that. So you're sacrificing the ego is what the sacrifice terminology is
Mhm.
all about, right? Is just making space for more of your true essence to come through.
Yes, and parts of your ego, never your whole ego, because you cannot exist in this reality without it. It contains your dreams. It does. If I would say, if I know who I am, and I close my eyes, then I know who you are too, because you are the same essence as I am. Now, what's the difference between us? Well, the difference is your purpose and my purpose, your dreams and my dreams, your fears and my fears, and those are held by our egos. So, what I can see your soul. I know that it is there because we are having a conscious conversation, but I also know that you have dreams and they are held by your ego. They drive you in this world. If you didn't have an ego, you would say, well, I don't care. I will return to where I came from. And that's not what we're here to do. Actually, I've come to this conclusion with one sentence. I can tell you what everyone's purpose is here, but it is different to every single person. But I can define it in one sentence if you want, and your
Yes,
listeners
please.
maybe want to hear what it is. To me, our purpose here as light beings is to come to this world of polarity and to learn how to transform negative energy into a positive manifestation. Now, what negative energy is, only you know what that is for you. It might be something totally different than it is for me. It's the process of transforming it through you into a positive manifestation. I have to look at what is the positive manifestation. I'm not talking about, radical positivity where you're lying to yourself. A positive manifestation can be to forgive yourself when you've done something that wasn't done by your best self, so to speak. But it's like there is an obstacle, there is negative energy coming towards you, and how you deal with it, how you transform this in through you so that nothing sticks, nothing is left inside of you of that negative energy. You transform it into some kind of gold, something that is beneficial for you. You learn something from it, or you win something, or you create something from it. That is the purpose of every single one of us here. Now, how we do it, if we do it, that's a whole new question to ask, actually. But I think that we are all here to transform negative energy into a positive manifestation. If I can give you an example, for instance, if I would look at my past, coming from a very, very dysfunctional family. My father had some kind of, I think he had some kind of schizophrenia, but that we didn't talk about that at that time. So I see him from a different light now than I did then. But I lived in that atmosphere and it was very negative for me. And I was in anger and sadness for a very long time of my life. So I didn't know how to transform that negative energy. It stuck with me. I had to go back in my past to look at it from a higher perspective in order to transform that negative energy into some kind of gold that I can use now. And I've done that. I feel like there is no anger, no resentment, no regret when I think about my father. Now he's passed, and I know that he's in a much more beautiful place. And there is so much atonement and forgiveness in this. And the atonement and forgiveness is the gold, the transformation, and my body is the vehicle for that transformation. So I'm transforming something into this physical world because I send out energy. And if the negative energy gets stuck here and I continue to send out the negative energy, then that is what I'm doing here. I am contributing to the whole with more negativity. So my job is to transform it and to contribute to the whole with a lighter energy. Not always fun, positive, but a lighter version of it. And then I can go back, maybe transform it again, like a cleansing process. But the important part is to allow it to go through you and out into the world. That is what we're here to do with everything that comes towards us in a way. You cannot escape the negative aspect here. It's impossible to escape it. It is here, and it's like 50-50. So you have to be able to navigate this. When you know that you can transform any negative energy that comes towards you, you become confident, you become less fearful, and there's a lot of courage that goes through you because you know that you can deal with it, you can handle it.
I love the way that you explained that because it is true. I mean, I was just thinking that we're constantly projecting every single second of our day.
Yes.
So if we're not able to transmute and transfer that negative energy, we're getting stuck in a loop because we're constantly projecting, which absolutely makes sense. But then I think it's like when you're, I love the fact that we've come here just well, we are creators, aren't we? We are the creator and the powers within us. So therefore we are constantly manifesting. So I just got this vision of like a wizard almost, like the magician, coming in and zapping its wand and turning these shadow aspects into light. And that's what I feel like you're talking about. We're constantly doing that. But if that's the case, Gordana, which I love the fact that, thank you for also sharing a little bit about your past, because we all have a past and we've all had some sort of trauma in our life, whether it's a big T or small t. We all have wounds. Then if we've come here to do this work, then why is it that we still get triggered? Because you were saying before that sometimes that you got, let's say when you were having a conversation with your son and you got triggered and then in that moment you stopped yourself because you went, you know what, this is, I'll pause because this is a trigger from a past, maybe something that happened. In that moment, do you then do the work, as in then you work, what is that trigger, then what's that negative energy, how do I transfer it and transmute into pure life? I mean, what's the process? How do you do that when you catch yourself?
When I catch myself, for one thing, I feel gratitude that I caught myself. I feel gratitude. Oh, okay, here's the trigger. I can resolve it. I can do something about it. I don't have expectations that I will be free from this. It will never happen again because it's part of who I am in this reality. I was programmed. I had an agreement before I entered this world with my father that he would program me and the other children in the family with this, even though I think he forgot who he was. And all children give you windows of opportunity to find out who you are so that you stop doing what you're doing. And in that, there is a healing process. But when I know that I am triggered, I am grateful for the trigger. I am grateful for my ability to see that my son is not out to get me, that it is something that is happening within me, which means that it gives me an opportunity to look at the filter that I'm looking through. And when I can look at the filter, I can say, this is not who I am. I am not living in a space where I am constantly attacked. That was when I was a child. So I open my eyes and I look around and I say, there is no danger here. So I don't need to feel that danger here right now. And I can only speak of that one particular moment. It doesn't mean that I will be able to control it next time. But every time I play this game, it gives me a satisfaction that I can remove a filter. It's like an onion. You remove the things that are not yours. This isn't mine. It is his fears projected onto a child that couldn't defend itself because you can't. That's the whole process. In the beginning, you're supposed to get programmed with certain things about this reality so that you can live out your personality here. So I couldn't defend myself from it, but I am no longer 6 years old. I am a grown-up woman talking to my son, and I can correct that. I can, polish that lens so that I can see things clearly. And every time I do that, I give myself time to do that. I feel satisfaction. Instead of being in guilt mode, oh my God, I had this conversation and it was bad. I didn't know what I was talking about. And now we're angry at each other and I can't sleep, blah, 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 blah. I can feel satisfaction that I caught myself in this. Now, my son is such a illuminated being, so he won't hold me responsible for things and say, yeah, but you said this. If I say, I'm sorry, honey, that I looked at you through my ego, and he will know that I'm speaking the truth. So he allows it to resolve. He will not look at the same, or how would I put it? He won't hold me a prisoner in that space anymore. He will leave it, resolve it, allow a new situation to occur. And I feel like you have to practice this with people who are able to do so, because otherwise they will remind you of how bad you were the last time you spoke to them. And you can't evolve if you want to please them or you want to be in connection with them. So it takes longer. But if you have someone, a partner or a friend, you can practice this with them and you can say, I am on a path where I want to catch my ego before it catches me. I want to tame my ego. And every time I feel that I'm ego triggered, I will tell you, I am ego triggered now. And you give me some space and I'll come back and we will restart. I promise you that your friends will find it invigorating and will play along and learn something about themselves too. The beauty when you start playing this game is that you become very aware of the soul, the observer in you. And as soon as you become aware of it, you can see very quickly when someone else is ego triggered. You can see it in their eyes, their ways of speaking. You can see it in their body movements. You can see when ego is activated, which it becomes a signal to you to pull back and sit in observer mode so that you don't play the game that the ego wants to play. Ego loves company, so it will poke everyone to be in this party. And if you are aware of how it feels to be in observer mode, you can say, no, I really don't want to. I can sit here and just observe and be kind while you're observing. You
I
can't
do.
tell other people, oh, you are in ego mode. You can't tell them because that will trigger them even more. But just being there, kindly observing without doing anything helps them also to, pull back a little bit because there is no company for the ego. There is no, if you want to have a conversation, then it has to be on equal grounds. So you and I are having a conscious conversation. I am allowing my soul to be present, and so are you. I can feel it. You're in Australia and I'm in Sweden, but I can still feel that our soul is connected here and we're speaking soul to soul. If it would have been ego, it would have been like a tennis match. It wouldn't be playful. It would be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then nothing. And you might not even remember what I said or you said, and you will feel depleted because there is no exchange of energy. We're just slapping each other with this energy. And you become very, very aware of it when you start being in this observer mode, this quiet place where you're looking and seeing the movement without engaging in it.
I love that. I'm having a bit of a smirk because my son and I, we actually work together now. And the thing is, it's interesting that I see now some of his little patterns, and then
Mm-hmm.
I will say to him, they're not yours to carry. They're
Mm-hmm.
my patterns. So becoming the observer, I've started noticing some of the things that he's doing that actually comes from me. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll have a conversation like, obviously as a parent, we do the best we could with the information we had. I said, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
given a book on how to be a mother. I just used my intuitive intelligence and did my best.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can see as an adult, you've picked up some of my
Mm-hmm.
traits that actually are no longer yours to carry, and they don't serve
Mm-hmm.
you. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting when you can actually become the observer to
Mm-hmm.
see. It's almost like it's almost like a mirror. Your children are here to teach you.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely. They are a window of opportunity for you to get to know yourself. And why it is so is because the the ground to this, the fertile ground to this is the unconditional love that we feel for our children. If there is no unconditional love, it's really hard to play this ego game and to be honest and to be trying to catch your ego. Unconditional love makes it hard for ego to play. So that's why children are this window of opportunity. I caught myself many years ago when my son was, I think he was around 10 or maybe something like that. I don't remember exactly. He was, I always felt that I needed to protect him. I was like trying to protect him, becoming an overly protective parent. And I know why I did that. This was a trigger from my past because I needed protection in my home. There was no grown up to help me when I could see that my father went into one of his, fits or when he became abusive the way he was. There was no one there to protect me. So I felt like I needed protection. So when I gave birth to my son, I even remember when he was newly born, I was standing in the shower and I had him on the floor in the bathroom. I was looking out to see if he was okay every 2 seconds. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. Why am I doing this? Like he needed protection, full protection. And so I realized after a conversation with him, I actually realized that this is not what my son is. I am not being a good mother if I am offering him protection because, and here's the thing, he was born into a family that loves him. His father would do anything for him, like he would carry him through fire if needed. He loves him unconditionally. Who am I protecting my son from? And I realize that I am giving him what I think that he needs, not what he actually needs. So I need to become present and look at him and see what does he need, not what did I need and give him that habitually. Instead, becoming very present and looking at this and saying, what does he need? He needs freedom. That was what he needed. I gave him protection. And that can become a flaw. Like my mother didn't understand me. She overly protected me when he needed freedom. And for me to wake up and see that it was my ego, my triggers, my past that actually pulled something over my eyes. And I was giving my son something that he didn't want and didn't need. I needed it. So I needed to wake up there and say, okay, so he needs freedom. How is that expressed? What is it that I need to give him? And it was actually to pull back a little bit, allow him to have his relationship with his father the way they wanted to have it, not be in a fearful mode all the time, becoming more confident that things will work themselves out. I don't need to control them. I don't need to fix them. I don't need to protect him. Because if I do all these things, then he becomes um, disabled in a way. He doesn't know how to protect himself. He doesn't know how to do things for himself because I'm doing it. And he doesn't even want me to do it. So you see, it can start off as something that you think this is the most beautiful thing I can give my child, protection. But in truth, it isn't because he doesn't need it. So if you're not awake, you will say, well, he's ungrateful. I am giving him everything and he doesn't want it. Yes, but you're giving him the wrong thing because you're not present in yourself. You're not actually thinking about the child. You're thinking about yourself. There's trauma speaking through you, going straight into that child. You have to understand this is my monkeys, my circus, not his. So I need to look at that and see, how can I be a mother to him? Not what did I need as a child. That is for me to fix, but not to project.
That's interesting. I've just had a bit of an etheric slap right now, Gordana, because I was like that with my son, exactly the same, to the point where, I was a single mother for like 11 years. So for me, I couldn't even leave my son. So if I had to go to work, he would have tantrums because he only felt safe around me because I was so protective.
Yes.
When really he needed that freedom and that space, which he got once he got about 10 years old. He got a little bit more freedom because we ended up moving closer to the school so he could walk to the school and I could go to work. And so we create, but it's so true, it's what we project onto our children that we create, what they become. Yeah. But I think our parents did the same too with us as well. Like,
Yes.
if I think about it's a constant pattern that we pass through from generation to generation.
Yes, and this is why I have always been triggered to understand who I am. I honor my past, but it doesn't define me fully and utterly in this reality. The past, I actually wrote something about this now in the new book that I'm writing, and I wrote that the past is not a rigid prison. It is a flexible narrative just waiting to be reimagined. Because the past doesn't exist, actually. It only exists when you choose to think of it. Now, there are certain facts, of course, when you were born, how much you weighed, who's your mother, all these are facts. But the experiences, they can be they can be rewritten. They can be changed. They can be understood. When you understand them, you can see how you coped, what you did, and why you did it. And that can become a part of your identity now. If you do not do that, if you do not go back and see it for what it actually is, seen from a grown-up who it feels safe and successful and love yourself like I love myself, going back and looking at this little child there from that perspective, you can actually find the golden nuggets in this. And again, it is a negative energy that you go back to, pick it up, transform it through you by understanding, seeing the hidden gems in it, and then expressing it as a new behavior, as a new experience of yourself, looking through a different filter. And it's not like lying to yourself. People will say, well, the past is the past, you can't change it. No, you can't change the past, but you can change your experience of it because your experience is in the now, right now. If you don't think about it, you will not know what's going on. And I will go a little bit further than that because the way I see this reality, and this is on a spiritual level, I'm thinking if everything is energy here, then there is different levels of energy. Before it manifests into a physical thing, it has to start as a thought. Now, I can't read your thoughts, which means that they are of a higher frequency than the things here. But it starts in your head. So how do you pull a thought into physical reality? What is the gravitational pull into this physical reality? Well, it's the emotion, the feelings. So if you have a thought and it doesn't affect you, it's like a cloud. It will just pass by. You think the thought and then it's gone. You might think of it for 8 seconds and then it's gone. You don't remember that you thought about it. Now, if you have a thought and you put meaning into that thought, like somebody mistreated you, and you start feeling the feeling of it, you get angry, you get frustrated, and you're starting to pull this thing into your body. And the first manifestation in the physical world is the vibration of that thought through the emotion, energy in motion, which goes through your body. That's the first manifestation. Then you can bring it further. It can become an act. You can hit the person that did something to you. So you manifested that thought, but it took a feeling to pull it gravitationally down to this frequency where it became an action. It's the same thing if I think of a pen, I have an idea, and then I start daydreaming about this idea. Oh my God, I'm going to create this pen, and it's going to be the most beautiful pen in the world. And then I start drawing it. I have pulled it from the thought realm, which is a high frequency, down onto a paper, which is a physical frequency. And then I give it to someone who can, manufacture a pen like this. And I've created a thing, but it's emotion that brings it here, nothing else. So if you do not put certain emotions to certain thoughts, they will not manifest here. So when you go back to your past, if you're looking at your past and you're feeling the emotions like, oh my God, it's horrible what I've gone through, you're manifesting it again in this reality. When you go into observer mode, you know that who you truly are, and I think this comes from the Course in Miracles, who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything in the physical world. Nothing. What can be hurt is your ego. Soul does not feel pain. Ego does. Even grief and all that, it is the ego feeling it, and we all feel it. There is suffering, and ego holds the suffering. So if you know that who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything, that's the observer mode. That is the stillness, observing everything. Do you see how much power you have when you have a thought and you say, well, I'm not investing a feeling in that? It goes away. It might come back because we are, conditioned to overthink things. It comes back and you do the same thing. You pull it aside, pull it aside, pull it aside. If it comes back too many times, you might think, do I need to look at this? So you pull it down, but here's the trick. If you pull it down to look at it, you do not allow yourself to indulge in the negative part of it. You go, what can I learn from this? And when you say, what can I learn from this? You've already transformed it into a positive manifestation within you because you're learning. And that's the whole point of being here.
I love
So
the way you put it.
yeah, it's a dance. I can give you, 3 steps to do that, but still, when it happens to you in the now moment, you forget the 3 steps. You're standing there, and the only thing that can bring you some peace is to start becoming more observant, starting to breathe in a different way, like breathing slowly, sending signals to your body that it's all good so you can think clearly. That's how you allow soul to take more space in you. When you start breathing, you open up to that,
I love
allowing
it.
it to come. Mhm.
Because when in reality, it's the ego that keeps those narratives alive. Because and we
Yes.
talk about it in the academy as well. It's like in coaching, you always work in the present moment. It's okay to bring the resources from the past into the present moment and change its meaning. But if you keep these narratives alive, what's happening is you're actually because we're manifesting in the present moment. So you're bringing your past into the present moment and you're manifesting it for the future because you're keeping it in a loop. So what you're
Yes.
saying
Yes.
is to become more the observer. Obviously, nothing has meaning until we give it meaning. But by becoming the observer, when these narratives drop in, you could actually you're creating space between you and the narrative, or you and whatever your past experience, and just so you're pushing it aside and not entertaining it. Is that correct?
Yes, unless you feel that you need to entertain it, because then there is a meaning why you're looking at it. And if you feel that that is the case, then the next step is not to jump in and allow the feelings and retell it. You have to say, what can I learn from this? Why am I obsessed with this? Why does this come back? Is it because my ego, there is a habitual pull here? I am used to doing this. My body almost feels like I need to pull it in. you have to be brutally honest and say, why am I indulging in this? Why am I looking at this? Why am I coming back to this? What's there to learn? What can I learn about myself? And then looking at it. And the learning part is always positive. You have learned nothing if you say, yes, I learned that I am stupid because I allow it to happen. You have not learned anything. You have just added more negative energy to that negative thing. So you have to understand that it has to be a positive learning experience from this. Sometimes it is painful to see what you're doing, but once you see it and accept it, you can forgive, and that's the learning. You can see, okay, I know what this is. So it doesn't come back to haunt you. It leaves. It doesn't come back to haunt you. You know, there's another aspect of this, and again, we will go a little bit higher spiritually speaking. For me, for a very, very, very long time, when I looked at my memories, it was like going back to hell all the time. I felt all the emotions. And even if I stopped being angry at my father after visiting a memory, there could be a trigger in a movie, like I could see a little girl and I started crying, and then I remember how it was, and I'm back in it, reliving it in every fiber of my body. And so I was angry, very angry. And I kept that for a long time until I had a conversation with my husband in the kitchen, and he said, well, if reality works the way you think it works, and you have this agreement with your father on the other side before you enter this world, then do you see what he has sacrificed in order to give you this experience, even though you don't like the experience? It's a bad experience, but he had to sacrifice big parts of himself in this life to play this villain in your show. So do you see that there is a sacrifice done here? And that was an aha moment for me, because being in, hating your parent and thinking that, oh my God, they're so stupid. They have no feelings. They have no heart. How could he do this to me? That keeps me a prisoner in my past, but it also keeps him a prisoner in my mind in the past. And spiritually speaking, when he passed away, I made an agreement with myself that he is no longer in physical form. He is not trapped here in physical form. The only thing that can keep him trapped here in physical form is through my memories. I can keep him hostage the way he kept me hostage in my past. And I said to myself, no one is hostage when it comes to me. I am releasing myself from this, and I am also releasing him from this. And that's the kind of atonement that was necessary for me. He doesn't know this because he passed away when I did this, but I feel the lightness when I did this. I feel how the energy shifted, changed, and I don't visit that prison because it doesn't exist anymore. And I feel like I needed to do this for him too, because he is a being, a light being, like we all are. He just played a role here that was a bad role. And if I hold him, I hold him in some kind of lie, or this is not the truth of who he is or who I am. It's my ego telling me this story that this is what happened to me and I need to, punish or whatever it is. And that's not my personality. That's not who I am. So this is where I tame my ego and say, no, we're not doing this. We're going to do it this way instead. And then just release, let go, surrender and let go.
That would have been a massive epiphany and insight for you, because that in itself is very powerful. And you can see that, like you said, everything is energy. So it doesn't matter whether you're in a physical form or a spiritual form, it still plays a part of the collective and as of the whole. And I love the fact that you shared that, because it is one of those things that it takes also a lot of courage to be accountable, to say, you know what, I play part in this. That what is it that I can do? I'm currently in a situation, and I can play two parts. I can play the victim, or I can say I'm going to be bigger than this and add so much love and so much light that no matter what comes my way, especially if it's negative, I bring more love and light to it. And it's so expansive to be that way rather than play the game that you talk about, rather than participate in the story. It's so much easier to, well, it feels better anyway, to actually just let go and just somewhere in my, in my, an agreement that was signed with, obviously these people are playing part as we all are in these stories, that there was a gift in it. And the gift in it is amazing, because once I said, what is the gift in this, Catherine, rather than playing victim and whatever that may be, the gift in it is, it actually taught me how to love more, to expand more, to project more love, regardless of the situation. So
Absolutely. And yeah, I know. And it's, again, it's like people will say, well, it's not easy to let go. No, because you want to keep the narrative. Ego wants you to stay in that narrative. And that narrative is a lie, because I was not born a victim. My true identity can never be a victim. My true identity is this fearless soul, because it is fearless. Your soul is fearless too. Otherwise, we would never jump into this suit in this reality, explore this realm. We would never do that. So there is no truth in me carrying an identity of being a victim. The truth is that I am an explorer of this reality. So why would I want to keep that? So if I'm honestly being radically honest, saying I want to illuminate myself, I want to understand who I am, then I can't go around holding on to victimhood. You think that, but if I let go of that, then no one will know what pain I was in. You need what is it called? You need someone who will see it with you. You need, what is it called? Oh my God, I can't find the English word for this. A witness. You need a witness to this. And again, I had my husband being a witness to something. He had an interaction with my father, and he could understand what I went through as a child by that interaction with my father. And he came into the kitchen, he put his arms around me, and he said, I see you. I know what you've been through. And that helped me to let go, because I had someone who had seen this, so I don't have to carry it. I don't let it go and forget. It is still there, but I don't need to feel the pain of it. So I think that many of us want someone to be the witness to the pain that we've been through. And that's when we can let go of the pain, because it no longer needs to be held by you and your identity here. So maybe having someone who is the witness to this, and then releasing and letting it go. Because just saying let it go, that triggers a lot of people. I have clients that can get triggered when you say, well, we just need to let it go. It's not as simple as that. You have to understand why you need to let it go. Because it's not part of your identity, not your true identity. Absolutely not. And there's another thing, people say, well, I'm not that brave. I can't do that. Well, there's a difference between courage and bravery. Bravery is to do it even when there is fear there. You will do it in spite of fear. Courage is you do it. No, again, bravery is something that you do because you don't see the fear. You don't feel the fear. You just do it. Courage is to do it in spite of the fear. Now, courage is much tougher and harder, because you have to go against an instinct to survive. You have to go against that. You have to go around that and still do it. Even if you feel the fear, you will still do it. And I think that that's where many people stop. They don't want to do it when they feel the fear. They stop. And it's so much easier when you do it, even when you feel the fear. Just try to see it from a different perspective. The willingness to look at it from another perspective puts you in that place when you realize maybe there isn't so much fear as I think there should be. And then you can go around it in a way. And it,
Mm.
it all is very organic. It happens in the now moment. And if I if I would say look for the golden nuggets and be brutally honest without being negative towards yourself, that would be some kind of process that you need to find your own way through.
I love that. I love the fact because the witness piece for me, it's like everybody wants to be seen, heard, and valued.
Yes.
And just the fact you've got
Yes.
a witness, you feel seen. And so it does let go a lot of
Yes.
that, whatever you carry, the story or the experience.
Mm.
And the courage piece in French, cœur is heart. So I love the fact,
Yes.
yeah. So by facing the fear anyway, it's facing it with love. You still see it's there, but still
Hmm.
stepping into it with love. So I love the fact that
Hmm.
you brought that up.
Yeah, just one more thing.
Yeah, no,
When
you
you
say
are
as
in,
many.
yeah, when you are in the midst of this argument, say that you're having an argument with your son, there are other small tricks you can do to wake up from ego mode. And another thing is to use your heart. Every time you put your hand to your heart, your body becomes aware of that there is a heart here. And it starts working through the heart. It connects your heart to your brain. Physically, it does this. You don't have to do anything. You just put your hand on your heart like this, and you will feel how it moves in your body. It connects your mind to your heart. Ego works through mind. It tells narrative, and then the mind or the brain sends signal to the heart, and the heart follows that. But there is the other way around too. And when you put your hand on your heart, you kind of jump ahead. So you send signals from the heart up to the brain so that it can't be hijacked by your ego. So just this little thing to put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath will put you back in, soul mode instead of ego mode.
We talk about that too. It's interesting. Yesterday, I had a healing by a lady. She does craniosacral and somatic healing, and she placed her
Hmm.
hand on the left, and she was saying there's a portal there. So just by placing your hand on your heart, you're activating the
Yes.
actual not just the heart, but the all the spinal fluid right throughout your body.
Hmm.
And it was I really felt it. Coming from her,
Yeah.
she had amazing hands, but really resonated
Yeah.
with what you were saying. Gordana, before
Mm.
we go off to our three shiny golden nuggets, which is the way that we always love to wrap up our session, is
Hmm.
there a question or that I have not asked you or something that you would like to share with our audience?
Mm. Yeah, well, one thing I want to share, another tool, just one single little tool. And this is something that the first time I did it, it was so illuminating. It was like the best thing ever. It's like a gratitude reset. It's not just a reminder, it's a reset. And here's what I did. I imagined, like, close your eyes, and imagine that when you wake up, the only thing you can see in front of you are the things that you actively were grateful for the other day. What do you see? Only the things that you actively said thank you to or appreciated the other day. What do you see?
I saw really simple, basic things. So the things it was me, just my dog gets really excited. So me just spending some time with my dog and just patting my dog. A simple thing of having a cup of chai tea. I was
Mm-hmm.
grateful. I love to have that space to enjoy my chai tea,
Mm-hmm.
and also my there's just a book that I've got by my bed that I pick up every now and then, and I'll just open a page and it's the
Mm-hmm.
message that I received, which is really interesting because yesterday in my healing, in the healing yesterday was a confirmation that I really need to take care of me. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
making that conscious effort stepping into 2025. So when you said that, they were the
Mm-hmm.
things that flashed by,
Mm-hmm.
which I'd
Yeah.
love to talk about your book
Yeah.
too.
Yes, of course. But the thing is, you had three things. I had five things when I did this first time. One was my husband hovering here. The other one was my son hovering over here. And in my hand, I had three tomatoes, two yellow ones and one red. And I'm thinking, where is my garden? Where is my home? Where are my clothes? Where's my body? Where's my hair? Where's my eyes? Where's my smile? Where's my books? Where is everything? Like, this is a void. And my husband hovers here, which is great because I am grateful and I appreciate him every day. The same thing goes with my son. But they're hovering in mid-air, like darkness. And these three tomatoes, because I nourished this plant the entire summer and I ate the first three tomatoes the day before. And I'm thinking, how come that everything else is habitual? I have a beautiful home and I'm not present in it, because if I were present, I would be grateful. In the morning when I woke up, I would say, I'm in this house. I love this. Oh, I'm in this body. I like this body. Oh, my hair looks great today. None of this. Everything is habitual. We live in habitual mode most of the time because we are grateful for small things. I think we're grateful for everything, but we do not express it. We take it for granted. And that's the lesson for me. I took very much for granted something that needed to be appreciated more. And when you appreciate, you open the floodgates to abundance. If I appreciate three tomatoes, there's no abundance here. I want to appreciate more and open up more to it. So just that little exercise blew me away how little I actually appreciate of all the things that I already have.
I know. I practice. I'm grateful every single day. I do. I'm
Yes.
forever saying I'm grateful or thankful or
Mm-hmm.
blessed. I do. I do very much that on a daily basis for sure. Simple things
Yeah.
like
But you
whether
know,
it's garden or seeing the bird outside, the beautiful birds outside of my
yes.
garden, seeing the sun, or it's just the most basic stuff.
Yes, and I realized that you don't have to say, I appreciate this or I'm grateful. It's the presence in it. Like when I walk through my home, I am not present. I take it for granted. But being present in it, like watching a sunset, you are very present. That is appreciation. Presence is appreciation. So I know that I need to be more present in my reality if the only three things or five things are in my void when I wake up in the morning. And those three things are the things that I saw, actually. The rest of the time, I don't know where I was or what I did. So it made me more aware and more present and like appreciating the now moment, being present in it, whatever it is, like just a glass of water, enjoying it, looking at it, being present. That's what this reset, gratitude reset is all about. Okay,
I
so
love it. And you know, the thing is, it's that is what stops my mind going a million miles an hour, because I do overthink, over
mhm,
analyze, over process, because obviously we've got a business and we're constantly on the go and
mhm,
looking at, so it's always, we're looking ahead of time because we're already planned for
mhm.
2025 for the whole year. So that's not being
Yes.
present. So to me, by practicing gratitude, the smallest thing, a chai or, you know, whatever that may be,
Mhm,
to me allows me to be in the moment and just, it's not even saying that, oh, I'm grateful. It's like, this is so beautiful. And I
mm,
enjoy every step from it. Every step from it. Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Presence. Yes.
Yes, I love it. So, Gordana, the way that we love to wrap up the show is we always love to ask our guests to share three shiny gold nuggets. Three shiny
Mm.
golden nuggets. So, what would be those three shiny gold nuggets that you would like to share with our audience today?
Well, that would be the understanding that life does not happen to you, it happens through you. This is important. It happens for you, but it happens through you, which gives you a lot of power. Everything that happens goes through you, and you are the portal to it, which means that you can close the doors, open the doors, make a choice, don't make a choice. It's up to you. So it doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And this is also why when you change, everything changes because it comes through you. When you make the change, it rearranges everything. The other thing is, put my glasses on. The other thing is, every time you find yourself in the middle of an argument, and we've talked about that during the entire session today, is to ask yourself, what am I adding to the situation? clarity or confusion, love or fear, soul or ego. And the crux here, the key here is to be brutally honest, not to coat it in anything, not to outsource it on anyone. What are you bringing to the situation? And then if it's not what you want to bring, rearrange it, change it, make something else out of it. Bring clarity instead. And the third thing is, well, here's what I want you to remember at all times. You're the stillness, observing a world in constant movement and change. Everything that isn't still will pass. It always does. So if you're the stillness, this is the only thing that is still. Everything else is moving. So just wait, allow it to pass, and make a new choice. Create a new form, and it's there. I see it this way. I am the stillness, and everything is moving, changing, shifting. It's like a storm around me. And I can put out my arm, pick something out, look at it and say, nah, I don't like that. Something else. Oh, this is better. And I put it here. It becomes a part of me. I am choosing what I keep and what I leave. It's like breathing. When you become more conscious, it's like breathing. The more conscious you are, the more you cover of time and space in this reality. And this reality is a reality of a polarity. So you have negative and positive aspects. So when breathing in, your body knows how to, release the carbon oxide and keep the what is it called? The oxygen. It keeps the oxygen and releases the toxic things. It knows how to do that. You don't have to think about it. Your consciousness does the same thing. It brings in the positive and the negative. And here you have a choice to make. Do you want to keep the negative thing, or do you want to release it? If you keep too many negative things, it becomes toxic. So you have to understand that there is a choice. The more conscious you are, the more you will see of both sides. You can see the negative side too. And you also have this option that you can release whatever does not belong to you, whatever does not vibe on your frequency, whatever doesn't feel like you. You can release it back to where it came from, the movement, and keep only the things that you want. That's how you travel lightly in this world.
I love all three. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with my sister the other day about it's happening through us, not to us, and not for us even, because it is true. If we're co-creating with universe, God, whatever you want to call it, everything we're co-creating, we're manifesting through ourselves and then projecting it out into the world anyway.
Yes.
So I love the fact that, once again, isn't it funny how the universe works? A confirmation of a conversation is always this. Comes back. Yeah, I love it.
Yes. Absolutely. And you're actually, and this is what made me think of this. This was a very old thought. I think one of the first ones when I started this. It's like you are creating and consuming your reality at the same time. It becomes this paradox that you're creating something that you're consuming at the same time, and it goes around. It's like a donut. It goes around. You're doing it all the time. The beauty is that there is a time frame. The universe gives you a time, a buffer in time to ask you, are you sure? And if you're awake, you can say, yes, I'm sure, or you can say, no, wait, I want to change this. But you're still doing it. You will be, creating and consuming all the time. Just becoming aware of what is it that I'm creating and do I want to consume it?
I love that. It's true. We all get stuck in a loop. That's the difference between unconscious living and conscious living, right?
Yes,
we get
absolutely.
stuck in the loop.
Yes.
So, Gordana, we'll probably have to get you back on the show because I know you've got a new book coming out, and I know, and we'll have the link of your current book, which you had pulled out there on the side there. But where do you hang out the most on social media?
I'm very much on X, so my handle is at my Power Talk. But I've created a course together with Lucas Mack, and you can find that on undoyourpast.com.
We'll have
And
that.
it's all about, yeah, all about going back into the past and looking at it from a higher perspective, more beneficial perspective, and how to work with your inner child. And we work with pictures, and it's a really beautiful course. So go there, undoyourpast.com.
I love it. We had him on the show, so we'll have that in the show notes as well. Gordana, it's been such an honor to have you back on the show. I could sit here and listen to you talk all day long, and I know our audience will too. Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of wisdom and your time and your energy.
I want to do one thing before we say goodbye. I know
Yeah.
we've gone over time, but it doesn't
Doesn't
matter.
matter.
Give me
No,
a
it doesn't
number. Give me a number between 1 and 231.
matter. Oh, 33.
33. Okay, so I'll find the truth thought 33 in my book, and it's specifically yours, synchronistically speaking. Oh my God. Here's what it says. Mind is a tool with which you create your reality. Everything that does not belong in your ideal reality should not be in your thoughts. I mean, look at the synchronicity here. You chose this. It's in the beginning of my book. There it is.
Yeah.
And it is actually about what we talked right now
Yes.
here.
Oh, I just got goosebumps. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that. It is. It's nothing is a coincidence. That once
No.
again, that synchronicity.
Everything is a consciousness interacting through synchronicity.
Absolutely. Beautiful. You're gorgeous. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this. See you.
See you.